Howdy everybody. Today we'll be doing quite an interesting video. I'm actually very excited to start this series. So instead of gameplay videos now, we're going to be making somewhat shorter videos as well, but as tutorials. You're like, oh, I don't need no tutorial to play War Thunder. You do, and I'm going to prove it to you. Today we'll be playing rank 4. However, we're not playing normal rank 4s. When you think of the M46 and all those, we will be starting after World War II. Meaning we'll be going past the M26, entering the M46's already line of targeting. That means we're using the Bulldog, the M46, the M56, and the M50 today. There will be more in future, but as of currently, this will be our first video as a tutorial. I will be advertising this video for the most part, and I'm hoping it will get us a little bit of love. So, without further ado, let's get into our first match so I can explain some things. So, before I start anything, I want to go over a few things you're looking at here. I know you probably know what all this is, but I want to make a few recommendations for when you finally hit this BR. First off, with the M46. The M46 carries quite a few different types of rounds. I'm going to have to look at how many there are actually right here. The M318, the M3488, the M82, M71, M304, M313, M332. All these rounds have different purposes for different targets. The top two rounds you're going to want to know, though, are the M348 and the M82. Both these rounds are going to help you a ton with dealing against tanks of all different types of armor. Why didn't I mention the M71? I'm going to explain why in a minute. First off, let's look at a few things here with the shells. First off, the M348. The M348 is a heat explosive anti-tank fin stabilized shell. What does that mean? This means the shell has a great penetrating value, especially in the lower ranks where you're not dealing with tanks with ERA, explosive reactive armor. So, M348 has over 305mm of pen. Pretty good, I will say. For especially having such a small, pretty weak gun, it makes up for it with its shell calibers. Having 305mm of pen goes through pretty much everything at this BR. Don't get mistaken though, there are certain tanks you will struggle with. But let's go over why you're going to want to pack M348 over any other shell. HEATFS is one of the most crucial shells you will unlock at this BR. I know a lot of people are like, APHE's better. I would disagree. As much as I love to use APHE myself, as a new player, you're going to need to know penetration more than reliability. Penetration over heavier tanks and hitting them in certain spots is better than getting good shots, but not penetrating every time. So, M348 is a great tutorial shell, I feel like. However, this isn't the only thing I have to say about shells. Specifically with tanks, you're going to want to drop ammo. What does that mean? I'm meaning you don't want to carry far as much ammo you probably think you want to. First off, you're not going to want to carry anything over 30 rounds. Why 30? Because most of the time, your racks are not going to be able to even get loaded by that point. You're not even going to need 70 shots. You're not getting 70 kills and you're not getting 70 hits. Especially on medium and MBTs. Even in heavy tanks, it's not likely. So, I suggest bringing a lot less shells. My recommendation for most of these tanks is about 20 rounds tops. I'm not saying you guys will do bad, but I'm also saying to the fact that you're probably not going to perform as well as you think you are, especially with stock shells. M82, however, is known as Armor Pierce Capped Ballistic Capped Shell, whatever that means. In short, it is APHE, meaning it's an armor-piercing round with high explosive filler once it goes through the tank. Unlike HEATFS, it does not have good penetration. It only has 183mm of penetration. What does this mean? This means it's going to have a lot less pen, but a lot more explosive power. Think of it kind of like an HE shell on an open-top tank. That's pretty much the way you got to think about it. So, without this little clock going down, we're just going to get rolling into the match here. So, let's go over a few things here with the M46. There's a lot of things you got to look at when you're looking at this tank. First off, you're an M26 in a nutshell. There's a few different minor changes you've probably noticed by this point. The gun, and some of the parts seem to be a little different. It is basically an M26, so portray it as an M26. Your gun is going to be a lot better penetrating things, but otherwise then your tank is pretty much going to be the same tank. So let's go over some amazing things about the M46. First off, mobility. The mobility on the M46 is amazing. And for most people, this is going to make a crucial difference when you're playing tanks. Either you like heavy tanks, or you really like slow tanks. I mean heavies. Or you're going to like the opposite of it. You're going to like faster tanks. more medium tanks or a mix in between, and I highly recommend playing medium tanks. But what are some things you're going to probably realize about this thing off the bat is the cage. What is this cage? This is going to block heat rounds. For the most part, they won't go through the turret. HE rounds do pretty much the same thing. So it's a pretty nice thing to have, but is it the best? Yes and no. It can be a nice benefit, but if you don't like the look, you don't have to have it. It's not going to save your life too much. Matter of fact, when you're looking at the front of this tank, you hit the hull, you're going to die. However, with that in mind, if you do want the cage, I would recommend the cage. It's much better protecting your turret, and if you do hull down stuff, you're going to have a lot better chance of surviving HEATFS rounds, which is unlocked by this BR. Let's go over another thing. I want to mention the fact of the 90mm now, if I didn't say that beforehand. The 90mm is very underpowered by this BR. Sure, it's not as... It is technically calibered in a larger round bigger than the 88. This may be a true statement, but the penetration of what you're going to be fighting is going to be underpowered, quote unquote. So, I don't want you to think of this thing like a heavy firepower weapon with HEATFS. I want you to think of yourself still like an M46. The M46 is identical to the M26 in numerous occasions, including mobility and armor. But where does the differences lie are going to be on the gun, and I can say a little bit better horsepower. And the cage always makes a great addition to it. Unless you're playing the premium version, which I do not think does have it. If it does, I would like somebody to comment that down below and tell me. However, if it doesn't, then I'm correct. There's not much more I gotta really say about the M46. I think it's a well-rounded vehicle, and I would recommend it 10,000% of the way. But that's only one of the vehicles we gotta go over. Now you're probably all wondering why I did a custom battle to display some of the scenery instead of just play it. I will be throwing in clips here and there if you didn't already watch it, so don't worry, you'll see it. However, though, this is going to be an introductory video for the 90mm as well. This is the introductory 7.0 and above. For quite a while, you'll be playing with this gun caliber and rounds. You will get some different types of shells here and there, and a lot better armor mobility as you move on. But this is only part 1 of the series. There's going to be another video posted displaying the M41 and then the M56 in the same video. Or actually, I think I'll take that around. I think I'll be the M41 in its own video, and then the M56 and M50 in their own, because they're pretty similar tanks, and I think you could play them pretty similar. Now, why am I not making any videos on the Pershings is probably a question you're going to want to ask. I'm not doing it because I think people know how to play the M26. I'm explaining kind of the introductory 7.0. I don't think everybody's going to need this video, but I think it's very important when I start moving later into the series, when we start to get into more important topics. So, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. America, this BR gets a little iffy, and once you start to finally realize what you're doing, it may be too late. So, I hope this helped out a few of you today. Look out for part 2. It is going to be linked in the video at the end clips here. So, please click on that if you want to know a little bit about American Recon. There's not much more I have to say right now. I highly recommend playing this tank, because it is a great vehicle to start off with the American Tech Tree to finally introduce yourself to HEATFS. I think the M56 does a great job, but it does not give you armor, and you're going to regret it. I don't have much more to say about this, but I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will be posting this as soon as possible, and then the part 2 following afterwards, only by a few hours or minutes. So, please, have a good day, and I will see you in part 2.